how to let go and move on from a relationship in the healthiest way possible. This is one of those things that I think, we've all been through it, first of all. I mean, I don't think there's a single person out there that hasn't had their just heart crushed at some point and have just really struggled to move on and to let go and to really just accept it and heal from it and move on. And I know, like, first time I had my heart broken, like really, really heartbroken, I was 16 years old. It was like a pain I had never felt before. It was intense. Honestly, and it wasn't because I was doing the healthy healing work around it. I was not doing that. I was not doing anything. I was actually doing a lot of destructive stuff. But like, it really, if I'm honest, it took me close to a decade to really release that and get over it. Probably like 7-8 years to really move through that. And what I've learned over the years and, doing this work and coaching lots of people and working with a lot of these situations is I've learned that there are faster ways to move through it. It doesn't have to take 8-10 years, a decade long. I mean, there's really like a spectrum here, right? And when we go through a breakup or we go through a separation from someone, there's the possibility to really heal from that relatively quickly, to reframe it for ourselves, to understand it in a positive light, to heal, release whatever's going on for us around it, to accept it and to move on. And that avenue, if you choose to go that direction with it, that can go on for as long as you allow it to. Like, there's really no end to that. Like, it really comes down to a choice you make. And I'd say I've probably had 2 major heartbreaks in my life. What I kind of learned from these 2 experiences is there is a way to move through heartbreak and be empowered and become better as a result of it, to become more worthy as a result of it, to become, more connected and attractive, right? There's a way to move through heartbreak and create all of that. Everything that you hate about yourself just gets worse. Every insecurity that you have just gets bigger. Every fear that you have, like it just magnifies all the negative stuff. And what I want to do today is really help you understand what is needed to move through it in a healthy way, and also help you understand all the reasons why you might not choose that for yourself. There are really 2 things that need to happen when you're letting go of someone. And I would say one needs to happen at the level of the mind. And I mean the conscious mind, not your deep subconscious thoughts, but the conscious mind, like the part of your mind that you hear yourself thinking, that you're, talking things out in your mind, working things out in your mind. You've got to shift that perspective to a relationship with the situation that is empowering, that leaves the opportunity for a bright future. The other thing that needs to happen is you need to be able to emotionally release whatever you're holding on to that is keeping you stuck in that relationship. This is where I want to say that a lot of what you're experiencing doesn't even have anything to do with that relationship. There's this need to release what I'm holding on to emotionally, but also the recognition that what I'm really working through emotionally isn't even really about this relationship. This is about decades old stuff that I've been carrying before I even met this person. And what's happening now is I've met somebody, and my relationship with this person is giving me access to feelings that I normally can't feel on my own. When I meet somebody, let's say I'll take my high school girlfriend, but as I look back on that and I can see why it happened and how it happened, and I can understand what was happening for me at that time, I can also see why it hurt me so badly and why it took me so many years to move through it. For anyone who's going through a loss right now, if you're grieving the loss of someone you loved, if you feel like, oh my God, I'll never be happy again, if you're stuck in all of that right now, I really want you to listen to what I'm about to share, because this is going to shed some light on your situation if you're willing to see it and you're willing to hear it. So if I go all the way back to my childhood, one was the fact that I grew up in poverty. The other was the fact that my mother was a religious extremist. Now, why are these 2 factors so important? Because they shaped my relationship with myself and my relationship with everyone and everything else. The way it applies to you is that you had your own factors. So maybe your factors were the fact that you had lots of money, weren't religious at all, and maybe that shaped your identity. What matters is your ability to understand how the circumstances impacted you. As a child, when you're trying to find your place in this big old world, whatever conclusions you draw about what that place is, that becomes your identity. So my whole childhood, there was this sense of I have less than other people. Therefore, I am less than other people. The second thing is the religious extremism. These two impressions were themes in my childhood that shaped my identity. Did you ever ask yourself that question? Like if you look back at your past relationships, did you ever ask yourself like, why them? It's not an accident that you ended up with that person, whoever it was. And that could be in high school, that could be in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Anybody you've ever ended up with in your life, it was not an accident. It's based on your limited idea of who you are in your own mind. Was she the best match for me? Like, honestly, no, she wasn't. There were probably so many girls in my school that would have been a better match for me. But the thing is, I didn't believe I was worthy of them. I'm looking at it from a very limited perspective. I'm looking at it from a very fear-based perspective. She fit into this perfect space, I'll call it, of what I believed I was worthy of, combined with what I was attracted to, combined with all the little ways that she satisfied my ego. And, it was the perfect storm of all of this that we ended up together. This applies to your adult situations too. You ended up with that person because they fit into your belief system and they fit in with your identity in that way. Not the best match for me, but the best based on what I thought I could have, who I thought would like me back, what I believed was possible, what I believed was available for me. She was the maximum possibility within that context, okay? So now I'm already starting out in a relationship that's doomed to fail. That relationship is already doomed to fail because it's not based in truth. It's not a reflection of who you truly are. It's a reflection of who you believe you are in a limited identity. She was like a puzzle piece that just fit into that perfectly, right? Now that's rare. And I want you to hear this because so many people tell me, they're like, oh, I've never had a connection like this. It's so amazing. It's so magical. I've never met anyone like this. I don't know if I'll ever meet anyone like this again. Well, that's why, right? Because you've made it so impossible. With all these limiting beliefs and all the limited ideas about yourself and all the scarcity of how you can never find anything and it's so hard and connection is so rare, that when you actually find someone that can somehow make it through all those limitations, it does feel like, oh my God, this is amazing. It'll never happen again. Because you've put up so many barriers that for someone to actually get through all of that, when they finally do get through, it does seem like they fit like a perfect puzzle piece. And that's what happened to me. The idea of having another girl want me after that, it felt impossible. I'll come back around to my second heartbreak now, because this was when I was 24. It was another devastating thing. This was somebody that I thought was the maximum for me. The way I talk about it in Inspired Love is that it makes you feel like you don't even deserve to exist. We go on trips and we make friends and we go out and party and we get involved in relationships and we make money and we buy things and we dress ourselves up and look really nice. And, we do all this stuff to try to protect ourselves from feeling that pain that's inside of us. It really doesn't protect you from that pain because every time something goes wrong in the relationship, that pain is right there. The biggest thing that needs to happen, and for anyone who's going through a loss right now, for anyone who's struggling to let go or release a relationship, the pain that you're feeling is not really about the loss of that person. That pain is something that you've been running from your entire life. And you thought that person was a solution to that pain, but they really weren't. And if you can realize that, if you can see this thread of unworthiness and suffering that has been underlying all your life experiences, and you can actually say to yourself, that is what I need to heal from. I don't need to heal from the loss of this relationship. I need to heal from the pain I've been carrying with me that got me into this relationship in the first place. And what most of us do when we go through a breakup is we just survive it. We don't really heal, we just survive. If you join me in Inspired Love, that would be a great way to support you in this process. If you work with a therapist or a coach one-on-one, that would be a great way to get support in this process. I really hope you take advantage of that. And lots of love to everybody. Thanks for being with me again today. Much love, many blessings, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday.